What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Tylerperry Sistas. Oh, wait, the Aftershow. Yes, I'm actually reviewing the Aftershow, and I'll also be talking about my thoughts on the season 4 trailer in this video. So go ahead and keep listening. Alright, so let's first start off with the fashions of this Aftershow. Tyler, why does your jacket look like a cropped jacket? It's throwing me off. But that's not where we're going with this. As far as the ladies' looks, I must say KJ's suit, I love it on her. Fits her body really well. Ebony, I don't know if I liked it or if I didn't like it. Like, I feel like it wasn't really doing what it was supposed to do. Like, I feel like she could have came a little bit better. Mignon, I hated this look on you. I'm sorry. Like, it literally looked like a tank top, a little tulle dress thing over some white jeans. Like, it was very tacky. I feel like I have seen her look so much better on other things. Crystal looked amazing. Crystal was probably my best dressed out of all the ladies. That dress, it looked amazing on her. Love that dress. And I love the color of it. Like, it just looks super good. And then when it comes to Novi, y'all, doesn't Novi just love to be so extra? Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to like it or hate it. You know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate the dress with the head wrap. That's not it. I think that it doesn't fit this occasion. I think it's because I'm looking at what the other ladies have on. And I feel like her dress just looks so over the top. And I don't even think, that's what she was trying to do, but that's what she ended up doing. I did like the scene where she did let the audience know that the costume designer for this past season is the person who actually designed the dress. I think that's super dope. A lot of times what people don't know about the TV and film industry is that a lot of times the costume designers do not get enough credit that they really, really deserve, especially when they're making things themselves. So shout out to the costume designer of Sistas for making this dress. That's so dope. And for her to shout the person out. So let's jump right into it. So Tyler has the ladies go around and talk about, what was their most memorable moment of the season. So Novi, she talks about the punch that Calvin took from Jacoby. I think Mignon was talking about, the Eden, the club, and Andy was talking about how when Andy got her power back. Here's the thing. I feel like Andy still does not have her power. Andy does not have her power back yet. I know that we try to find so much liberation in women's sexuality, but honestly, I feel like this is all about to come and backfire on Andy, because let's be honest, actually it did kind of backfire on Andy, because she didn't expect for Gary to know the girl that she was messing around with or whatever. But I digress. If that's what she wanted to say. Now, when it came to Crystal, she was like, the fight with Hayden. But the person that stood out was Ebony. Ebony was like, for her, it was when Karen realized what type of relationship she had with Zach. And I just found that interesting because I feel like Karen still hasn't figured that out. So I don't know if that was maybe her dropping a little clue or hint into what's happening for season 4. Just because, as we know, they've already filmed it. But I'm just like, girl, when did she figure that out? Especially considering you're calling their relationship toxic. But I found it hilarious when Tyler was like, oh, are you trying to send a message to the writer's room? And she's like, no, but, if they're listening. And I'm just like, yeah, because, Tyler, aren't you the writer for the room? So, sir, that means do better with Karen's character. Okay? Thank you. So moving on, we have a conversation with KJ about in that moment where Gary walks out of the bathroom with her and Robin, like what was she thinking? What was her expectation? And she's like, well, I don't really recall what happened the previous night. As she's talking about the character Andy, because I have been drinking. And I said, girl, you mean to tell me that you don't recall if you had more than one man all up in your business? Really, girl? I think you would have known because Gary would have felt very familiar to you. And then Tyler kind of posed the question that I honestly didn't even think about when he was like, oh, so do you think that like Gary set this whole thing up? Like even the whole Robin encounter? And I'm just like, listen, if Gary was able to set Andy up to where this whole situation with Robin was fake and he was just, happened to be a guy who worked at her firm and it was a setup by Gary has to be the greatest mastermind since Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. Because I don't even see how. I do not see how Gary will be able to set all of this up. Also, it's like, at what length will he stop just setting things up, just to have control over Andy? Like, I'm sorry. I don't see that because that's just giving Gary too much power and control. But let me know what you guys thought about that question that Tyler asked. Do you guys think that Gary set all of this up and that all of this was just to control Andy even further? Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. So let's go ahead and move on from KJ and move on to Mignon because she has to talk about Danny. And I did like that Mignon was like, it's not clear that Danny actually hooked up with El Fuego. And honestly, I don't think that she did, because if Danny's character was to hook up with El Fuego just because Preston wasn't answering her phone calls, I feel like there's no more Danny and Preston. Like, because that's a dumb reason. I mean, it's bad enough that Danny's character has shown how insecure she is within like the past, 3 episodes of the season. But I mean, I just don't see her hooking up with El Fuego. I don't, to be honest. We've already had that storyline happen with the other guy from that gay club. So I don't think that Tyler will rewrite that, would he? Hell, or he just might. But let's go ahead and dive deeper into Danny and Preston's relationship, because Mignon gave a very interesting perspective to me, because she talks about all the things that, he's done wrong. And I said, that's an interesting take, because she said that, Preston, he has broken into her house twice. I said, are we really calling that a break-in because he cooked for you and you liked it? But okay, girl. But yeah, he's broken into her house twice. She talks about how, after he got beat up, his sister just popped up at her house. Like, honestly, a couple of things she was just listing, I'm just like, okay, so is this because she doesn't really know him like that? Or is because white people just move different than black people? Y'all know what I'm saying? Because, like, sometimes white people, they just be doing stuff that black people would never do. And we definitely give them a side eye. I feel like that's what's happening with Danny and Preston. But I will say that I actually enjoyed this conversation between Danny and Tyler just because, not Danny, Mignon, because it's interesting to hear the ladies' perspective of how their character is and how their character has developed versus Tyler, because Tyler is the one who wrote it, and like how he was kind of pushing back on Mignon, like, well, no, that's not really how I saw the character versus how she saw it. Like, it's pretty interesting to watch. And I mean, I can even say the same about the fan question towards Andy and how Gary has all this control over her. And just hearing KJ's response about how, there are women who are like Andy. They're stuck in these situations where they're with a guy, they don't really know him like that, but because, the foundation was messed up, but they are relatable to her character, and that's who she does it for. And I'm like, that's a great perspective, considering so many people love to hate your character, Andy. They love to hate on Andy. I for sure have definitely said some things about Andy, like, girl, how dumb are you going to be for Gary? I know we all have said it. So, we then get a question about if Karen is pregnant for Zach or if it's actually the preacher's baby. You guys, I really cannot wait until season 4 because I want to see how that storyline develops. Because even Ebony was like, it'd be great if, oh boy, Aaron, he was the dad for the child because, their interactions are a bit better than where she stands with Zach's character. And I absolutely agree. Also, I feel like I don't need any other reason for Zach and Karen to have any ties to each other. Like, I feel like them being exes, that's enough. We don't need to bring a child into that situation. I did like hearing Ebony's perspective as far as just how the characters have been on the seasons. Because when you think about it, we have to think about Aaron's past. When we met Aaron season 1, he had a whole different type of baggage. It was not the same baggage that Zach had. Zach was cheating out here. Zach was out here bringing her diseases. Zach was out here acting a fool. But then, look on the flip side. We had Aaron. Yeah, he was a cool dude, nice man. However, this man had a crazy ex-wife. The ex-wife committed suicide at Karen's shop. By season 2, her brother broke into Karen's house. Like, all types of baggage came from Aaron as well. So, I completely understand where these women are seeing how their characters have been evolving and developing over the seasons, but also them being mindful of the type of men that these characters are being introduced to. Like, it's just so interesting to see their perspectives of this. Because, even Mignon chimed in and was like, yes, I absolutely agree with you that there's different types of crazy. So, as far as her character goes, I guess she feels like Preston has some crazy in him. And then, of course, Ebony feels like probably both Zach and Preacher Man have some crazy in them. So, Tyler then asks, okay, so what do you guys want for your characters? And especially, their love lives. Now, I think that it was Novi who was saying she wanted a flashback episode. That is something that I would honestly love. I would love if there was a flashback episode where we can see how the girls bonded in college, and we could also get just some insight of who they were within those formative college years, because we know that Andy has had a bad relationship that was abusive before. I would love to know more about that. I would love to know more about the types of relationships that Karen has been in, the types of relationships for sure what Sabrina has been in, because it seems like she like hood dudes, and that's not what we're getting out of Calvin. And then you have what's her name? I was like Mignon. Danny, her character, her as the curvier friend, how was her dating situation? I'm just saying, I would love a flashback episode so that we can just see how we got to this point. But let's go ahead and move on. So all the ladies go around and say what they want their relationship to be like, basically on the show. Of course, we start with Fatima, and she wants everything to work out with Zach. She wants him to get all of his, ducks in a row so that things can work out with him. Of course. And then we have Danny, and she's like, I would like for Danny to be able to say her piece. And let's be honest, because there's such a lack of communication when it comes to Danny and Preston, a lot of times she doesn't say what she actually feels. So, yeah, I agree. Maybe Danny should talk about how she felt when he kept breaking into her house, and she likes to keep throwing this out here. She also talks about how, if she does cheat on Preston in this upcoming season, then yeah, let her have a hot girl summer. She doesn't have to try to be in a relationship, which I absolutely agree, because how many times is it that all of you and your girlfriends are all dating somebody at the same time? We're not dating the same guy, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like, everybody's in a relationship at the same time. Like, I feel like it's fine if Danny has a hot girl summer while these other girls have these relationship issues. That's totally fine. For her to be like, oh yeah, sometimes I'll see El Fuego, sometimes I'll see somebody else. Because I feel like her and El Fuego, that ain't about to be serious right now. I can see it trying to go there because he has liked her for so long, but she ain't really about to date no stripper like that. Come on now. So let's move on to KJ, because she wants Andy to basically love herself first and stop trying to find love in a man. And I'm just like, yes, I would honestly love if KJ's character was single as well. If Andy's character was like out here really like killing it as a lawyer, being super professional, being single, like maybe go on a date here and there, but she's not just like trying to sleep with them as some get back. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like she needs to date herself first. That's what I would love for Andy's character. And then we move on to Ebony and what she thinks of Karen. And she's like, she would love for her character to be able to feel supported in ways that her character has never been supported. And I'm just like, woo, girl, you are really throwing it to this writer's room, aren't you, girl? But I completely understand, because the way Karen's character has changed from season 1 to season 3, I would have never thought that that is the character that we would have gotten. So y'all, here we go with Novi's character, right? And she's like, yeah, I would like for Sabrina to, continue to date because she's single. No, let's stop playing this game. Your character is not exactly single. Your character has been lollygagging with Calvin since season 1. At this point, either y'all gonna commit or y'all ain't. But also, let's not act like your character has been dating around this whole time, because that's not what we got with Sabrina. Sabrina dated Calvin, and then she tried to sort of kind of do some things with Jacoby. That's it. We have not really seen her character date. So I think it's funny that when Tyler asks the audience there, what do they think about Sabrina and Calvin? And you already know, ain't nobody feeling that relationship because it's stupid at this point. He is so far off of what she even wants in a man. It doesn't make sense anymore. And I feel like that's where we are when it comes to Calvin's character. It doesn't even make sense anymore for her to even want a relationship with Calvin, just because of how he's not the type of guy that she really wants. But you know what? We're not going to harp on Sabrina and Calvin. Let's go ahead and move on, because the guys finally come out. So we actually have Trinity, Cheeto, Brian. Who else was there? I feel like I'm missing someone. Oh, the guy who plays Aaron, I just can't remember his name. So he's there. DeVal wasn't there. Unfortunately, I would have loved to hear his perspective of Zach's character. And Anthony wasn't there either, who plays Calvin. And that's another person who I would have loved to hear his perspective of his character. But let's jump right into what the guys have to say. First things first, I have to say this. I have never really found Gary to be attractive, but Cheeto, something about Cheeto in this lighting, in this setting, the man looks really good. He really does. But anyways, he's talking about how, this is like the dream for him, even though he gets hate mail and not hate mail, but like he gets like hate tweets and all that stuff because of his character. So, we have Tyler. He's talking about how basically Gary is like this honest guy who has been upfront about everything. If he was with Jasmine, he would be upset, himself as well. And I'm just like, Tyler, what you not gonna do is sit up here and act like Gary is some type of stand-up guy. Well, we know Gary is trash. Let's not do that. But anyway, so then we talk to Kevin. That's his name. Kevin is the guy who plays Aaron. And he talks about how, the comment section can usually be kind of ruthless. Because, a lot of people, they still don't trust his character. And I'm just like, you know what? That is pretty true. Because I can't lie. I don't trust Aaron's character. But it's because of the way Tyler has written his character, okay? We don't really know much about him. I keep asking y'all what this man's day job is, and still ain't nobody dropped it down in my comments. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But also, it's the fact that, he's still clinging on to Karen, even though Karen is now putting him through all this drama. It's crazy. So then we move on to Trinity. Can we just say how all the men look really good up here? I'm sorry, Trinity's cute or whatever on the show as Cowboy. But listen, Trinity versus Preston, two different men. Trinity looks real good, okay? So we learn a little bit about how he actually got the job. It was because he was working on a different Tylerperry project, and he was, just being an extra. And if anyone knows anything about the TV industry, a lot of people, they kind of do this thing called day playing or being extra, where, they just kind of get in where they fit in. They probably don't have any lines, but you just hope that someone sees you and is like, hey, let me give them a shot. So basically, at some point, he had a conversation with Tyler, and Tyler actually remembered him when he was working on Sistas, and when he was writing the character for Preston. He's like, hey, that guy who had the accent, he'd be perfect for the character. And I find that to be so amazing because, honestly, you guys, it is very hard to even be an extra and want to, pursue acting, because there's plenty of extras. And many of them, they stay extras. They do not transition into actual actors. So it's so amazing to see, Trinity's story. I'm like, that's so dope. And I will say this about Tylerperry. Tyler, he does give people chances and he gives them a shot the same way he gave Crystal a shot. She transitioned from being the costume designer to acting. You guys, nobody really makes that transition in the TV and film industry, to be honest with you. They really don't. Usually it's the type of field where you kind of stay in the division that you're in. If you do hair and makeup, you stay in hair and makeup. If you do camera work, hey, you're going to stay doing camera work. You're not going to jump in front of the camera and be like, hey, I want to act. It's just so different. So I will say I definitely appreciate Tyler for giving his people chances. All right, so let's go ahead and talk to Brian, who plays Maurice. And he tells a story about how, when he came to the audition, he basically had a broke down car. A shoestring was holding down the hood. And, just to see how his life has transitioned now, he has another car, of course. He's upgraded in life. And, he gets to work with an amazing cast of people. And I'm just like, you know what? Honestly, it is beautiful to see actors tell their story about how, they didn't have a lot of money or, all these things. They came from nothing. And that one acting job completely transitioned and changed their life. I love to hear stories like that. So good for you, Brian. I just hope that Tyler, really goes in a different direction for his character in season 4, because I want him in a relationship. Can we please get more Reese in a relationship? Gosh. But let's move on, you guys, because now we have to talk about all of these sex scenes that have happened. So we kind of go down the line. So we have Cheeto. He's like, listen, there's no complaints over here. We hear about like the first scene that they had to shoot, that was a sex scene or whatever, and how like KJ, who, she's acted in a few things before. I want to say this may be Cheeto's first like real role. So she's like ready to go. She's taking clothes off. He's like, oh, is this what we supposed to do? He starts taking clothes off, and Tyler is like, I need both y'all to hold on. Like, wait a second. So then we jump on over to not Aaron, I keep calling him that, Kevin, because he's going to talk about Aaron's character. And I'm just like, well, I feel like there wasn't really much of a scene with him and Karen, was there? I feel like we got more when he had his face in the place. Shout out to It's Rocks, because that is definitely where I got that term from, and I crack up whenever I say that. So while Kevin is trying to say how, he basically is very comfortable with Ebony, so like their scenes are fine, like she's like so drunk. Like she even announces how she's drunk and how, he makes her feel comfortable when they're shooting scenes together. So then we jump on over to Trinity, of course. And he talks about how basically him and Mignon had first, met each other, talked for like 2 minutes. And on the first day, they had to shoot a sex scene. I was like, oh, wow. So that's how they pretty much got introduced to each other. So yeah, they have great chemistry and they're comfortable with each other, clearly. So then we jump on over to Maurice. And he's like, well, you know how you say that, there's 100 people looking at you? Well, there was 102 because of my love handles. And I'm just like, it's crazy that he says that, because to me, he's not even like a big guy. Like, am I tripping? Like, yeah, he has a little bit of weight on him, but when I look at Brian, like, he doesn't seem like he's like this big guy at all to me. So I loved his perspective, though, about how, it's one thing to film scenes with, another person and be comfortable with that. But you basically have to be comfortable within yourself and who you are in your own body, because the world is going to see it. And I'm just like, that is very true. Like, I don't think I would ever be able to, film a scene like that, just because I would just be so like, oh my gosh, what if they see this? What if they see that? You know what I mean? Super self-conscious. And on this show, there is no such thing as they can be self-conscious, because everybody gonna have their clothes off at some point on a Tylerperry show. So let's go ahead and move on, because after that, the guys were removed from the show. It was time for them to go, because according to Tyler, this was ladies' night. So next thing you know, we have this segment where Tyler like matched all of the single ladies up with like these random guys so that they can go out on a date. I was just like, what is this segment? I was not feeling it. All the ladies were single, and you guys can see me using air quotes, except for Novi. But we all know that in real life, KJ is seeing someone, okay? KJ is seeing Jacoby, or should I say Sky. So, yeah, baby girl's not single. So it kind of makes me wonder if some of the other ladies are not single as well. That was honestly pretty much the show. As we all know, season 4 is right around the corner because it comes back January 5th. Your girl will be watching. Since this review is already almost at 30 minutes, I'm going to do a review of the preview for season 4 in a different video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye, guys.